Hi everyone, it's Joe here. I'm here in Mississauga at a Tim Hortons location. Mississauga, as you know, is under the mandatory lockdown of the Ontario government public health. It's part of Peel region. And I'm here at one of the Tim Hortons in the drive-thru. As you can see, I'll show you, there's a big line up here all around. Many people are preferring to go into the drive-thru as opposed to takeout and into the restaurant. To me, like you can see, the car in front of me even has a mask hanging, dangling from their mirror, so the rear view mirror. Which makes absolute no sense to me. If this person is, in fact, let's say this person is infected with COVID and they cough or sneeze or even talk on the phone, this is going to be covering their mask, and they're going to be walking through with this throughout the stores or through any other places. Also, it doesn't make sense to me that where everyone is going through drive-through and the drive-through is not 6 feet distanced from the employee. So if this disease is so infectious and it's going up, people are being infected, testing positive in thousands and thousands per day in Canada in general. I'm just gonna place my order, but it makes absolute no sense that these people now are coming into closer contact, I would say, in the drive-thru. It's not 6 feet distancing. So
How can I help you?
oh, hi, can I get a double espresso?
Double espresso? Okay.
Yes. And that's it.
Driver, please.
Thank you. So people coming into close contact, they're going to be talking with the server at the window. They're probably not wearing a mask either. So just to see how ridiculous these lockdown mandates are, and the whole purpose of them makes absolute no sense. To shut down restaurants to prevent people from sitting indoors, whereas a drive-through like this with at least 20 cars all around are coming into close contact with with the server at the Tim Hortons. So if one person has COVID, coronavirus, or whatever you want to call it, that person is going to pass that on almost immediately to the worker and server, and that server will then pass it on to their co-workers, because as you know, as they tell us, wearing the mask prevents others from getting it, but doesn't prevent you from getting it, which has no scientific basis whatsoever. The data they're using is from Wuhan, from China, and from other institutions. So I'm just gonna I'll just ask a few questions there. I don't want to really show them that recording, but I won't show the person's face. You probably will hear me. So it makes no sense whatsoever. Right now I'm in a drive-thru which is not 6 feet away. No, they're just shutting down the restaurants, destroying local businesses.
Double espresso, right?
Yeah, double espresso.
It's gonna be a.
I'm paying by the. Is your store open inside? Like,
it's open.
okay, but we can't sit and eat inside.
No.
Okay.
You just have to take your order and then you have to leave.
I see.
Yeah. So, or you can use washroom for that.
Washroom is open?
Yeah, it's open.
Oh, okay. As you can see, I was probably 30 inches away from this gentleman serving at the takeout window if 6 feet distancing is going to stop spreading COVID, right? 6 foot distancing is going to help to prevent these droplets from coming from my mouth or from their mouth into another person's clothing or attire or on their face. This is clearly 30 inches away from this gentleman who's serving at Tim Hortons. And that lineup of 25 cars, so the people that should be going inside of the store, now they're in their car. But that's a big problem right now, according to the guidelines of Toronto Public Health and the public health of WHO. That's a big problem because now I'm 30 inches away from the person and I just clearly spoke into the person's face. There's droplets, whatever you want to call them, micro droplets, saliva. There's that coming out person to person to person. So the people that were supposed to go inside and safely distance inside of the store, if we talk about safety distancing, people that are in the store, they would be in a better situation in terms of safety, being 6 feet away. The store is much larger, and there's a face shield. There is something that would be like a barrier between the customer and the server. But ultimately speaking, these measures and mandates are not going to solve the numbers of COVID, and the numbers are going to keep going up because the numbers are based on a PCR test which is falsified at over 30 cycles amplification. And from their own logic, the World Health Organization and Toronto Public Health, from their own logic, it makes no sense. They're shutting down small stores, not letting them to accept customers at a safe distance. But at the same time, at a Tim Horton lineup and drive-through, you have customer to customer within 30 inches of spacing, 30 inches of distancing. And if one client comes in with COVID, supposedly, then the rest of that person would be definitely carrying COVID onto their clothing, onto their mask, and then passing that on from person to person to person as they speak and talk back regarding their order. So that just tells you that all of these measures and mandates, there's hypocrisy behind them. They're not going to solve the COVID situation. To solve COVID, you need to do one thing. And the main thing is to take care of your immune system, which no one is talking about from Toronto Public Health, which is no one is actually focusing on at all from the government officials. Why aren't they talking about vitamin C and vitamin D3? Has those journal studies thousands upon thousands upon thousands and thousands of years of research, and natural medicine indicates that vitamin D3 plays an important role into the immune system and into preventing chronic diseases. What about vitamin C? We forgot about vitamin C. Vitamin C plays no role. Why aren't those being spoken about? Like, you go into a store right now and they'll be like, if your nose is showing off of the mask, they'll be like pointing and giving you like virtue signaling. The cashier will be like, they won't even say anything. They'll start snuggling their mask just to inform you that your mask is below your nose. How fucking ridiculous is this? Huh? Can you explain to me that I can go up to that cashier and say to me, what is your vitamin C intake today? What is your vitamin D3? Are you taking care of your health? Are you eating properly? Are you eating GMOs and contaminated food and processed food to take care of your health to stop COVID? Are you doing your part? No. So the whole issue about masks is all indirectly associated with other plans down the road, down the pipe. One of them, which I've said from the beginning of the pandemic, scamdemic, is to condition the masses to hear voices without seeing the mouth smile nor see the mouth move. That's the main goal of wearing the mask and conditioning everyone to wear a mask. Not about COVID. All the studies are out. I've even done my own research. Millions of particles are flying through those masks at 0.3 nanometers every 5 minutes. The coronavirus is roughly 115 nanometers to 150 nanometers, supposedly. So that's flying through millions of particles. It ain't doing nothing. Saliva evaporates within seconds. So stopping your salivary glands from penetrating through and going on to the next person, that's a fallacy. That's a farce, because those are evaporating within seconds. And then after that, anything you breathe or blow is flying through. As I showed you right now in a drive-thru at Tim Hortons, 25 vehicles. If one person has COVID, the rest of that person is going to pass it on to the cashier, to the server, and that server is going to pass it on to his or her coworkers. And then there is no solution to this other than rebuilding and rebooting your immune system. Learning what's in our food system is corrupted from the top to the bottom, from the GMOs to glyphosate to aluminum to biosolids. What else do you want me to talk about? Atrazine, organic pesticides and herbicides, endocrine disruptors. What else do you want to even talk about? What's in our food system? Animal feed, which is tainted with arsenic. Animal feed, which is tainted with canola and soy. GMO products, killing our animals, making them fat, making them sick, not even seeing the dawn of light. When you look at a concentrated factory animals, we are doing everything wrong from not just from a few years, for hundreds of years, from decades now, more specifically since the 1900s. Big movements towards controlling the food supply, and for knowing and tainting it with chemicals knowingly that will cause chronic disease. People are worried about getting COVID, but they have diabetes for years. People are worried about getting COVID, and they have cancer. They are obese. They can't even walk properly. They can't even talk properly. They can't even think properly. People are being poisoned for years and throughout their livelihood, throughout their lives. And they're worried about a virus that your immune system can take care of. Your immune system can eliminate this virus quickly and efficiently. If you have a proper immune system, your fighter T cells, taking care of your vitamin C content, vitamin D3, detoxifying the body, detoxifying your liver, all of these procedures. If you have an infection in the chest, what happens to ginger? Fresh grated ginger can kill over 92% to 96% of all viruses and bacterial infections in the chest. What happened to that? What happened to those studies? Those are all trash now? That's just to show you the hypocrisy that we're at. Small businesses are suffering not just huge blows, they're being destroyed, decimated as we speak. And people are just walking, like trying to ignore it as if it's gonna go away. Let me ask you, since when does a problem go away unless you face it and work towards eliminating it? Nothing goes away unless you face it head on. Nothing will disappear. No one's gonna solve the problem unless everyone collectively rejects this hypocrisy, this anti-science, science based on science fiction and on lies and deception and very schemy ways of pushing in other agendas. People need to wake up and just collectively reject this whole idea of coronavirus and taking vaccines to solve this problem. This problem, before solving this problem, we need to look at what else is surrounding us that could could instigate this infection. We have 5G towers surrounding every 1 kilometer all over the world with zero safety studies, zero at all, and they refuse to. Government has refused viciously and blatantly to acknowledge any safety studies. They just pass it on to the tech companies. It's like saying, we want the vaccine companies to do the vaccine safety studies, which they are. How stupid is that? That's just right there. For decades they've been doing the same thing with the big pharma and with the vaccine industry and with the food industry. How do you give the person who's making a product the ability and power to do their own safety studies? Why? That's already room for conflict and conflict of interest and for blackmailing and deception. Where are the independent institutions to come and do their own studies independently without interference from government, without foreign interference from big companies and third-party interference? Is this allowable in 2020? With all of this knowledge and school and education, and we're going and doing innovative projects and engineering and sophistication, with all of this, why are we blocking the most basic common reasoning and sense from research and applying a product and giving it to en masse to population? What kind of foreign interest or what kind of interest is being served here? So businesses are suffering, they're being decimated. Children are under immense depression, sadness, looking up to a society where they should have hope of being successful in the future, and they're seeing the hopelessness, despair, tragedy. They're not seeing people smiling because they're preventing people from smiling by wearing a mask. They're not seeing humans as being loving, caring, because the simplest emotions from our facial expressions in our everyday life is being hindered and covered, masked, just like a criminal, just like a fugitive, just like a prison. This is a very evil thing that's covering our world right now. And if collectively, from people from all religions, all backgrounds, all genders, all walks of life, do not stand up and speak out and make a stance and say we're not going to participate anymore in this unscientific, criminal, draconian mandates based out of a fallacy, based on science fiction. Just because a person holds a position in government or as a scientist doesn't mean that they can issue orders and mandates based on thoughts in their mind without evidence and think that people just have to walk, accept it or not. Their way or their highway. And my last word here is, the mask is not is a sign of social change. Whenever in the history, whenever any person or collectively people were conquered by a foreign entity or been invaded, there was always an introduction of a social tool to indicate submission, indicate loss, indicate humiliation. We saw it in the Ottoman Empire, we saw it in Nazi Germany, we saw it during communism, and we see it still around in many countries around the world. This is no different. The mask is a sign of submission, of compliance, and of complete control over your mind and over your body and over your children's body and mind. This is not acceptable. If people stay quiet and don't speak out the truth of what's going on, we're on our way to more and more restrictions, more and more government overruling, control, and overreach, and complete total submission.